Hey everyone, Josh Baldwin here with Vegan Fit. Today's video is all about showing you my favorite healthy condiments and showing you a few condiments that you should definitely stay away from. So the main thing you want to look out for when you're looking for condiments is watching out for sodium, sugar, and oil-based fats. These are going to be the biggest problem areas that most people run into when you're buying store-bought condiments. So let's get started with my top 10 list. These are in no particular order. These are just 10 condiments that are at least a little bit healthy, and some of them are super healthy. First up on the list, we're talking about mustard. Now this is a really easy one for you when you go to the store. Almost every single type and brand of mustard has basically no calories, no sodium, and very low sugar or no sugar at all. This is a great choice for you, whether you want just yellow mustard, or you want a spicy mustard, or even a light honey mustard, even though we don't do honey as vegans. For you guys that are not vegan out there, a little bit of honey mustard is usually going to be very low in sugar, maybe 1 or 2 grams per tablespoon, which is totally fine. Another great healthy condiment is salsa. What I love about salsa is it's fairly cheap and it's really easy to find healthy versions of it. So almost every brand of kind of organic or natural salsa, it's just gonna have a basic ingredient list of tomatoes and onions and spices, and there's really nothing extra in it for you. They'll have a little bit of sodium and a little bit of sugar, but it's a very low amount, and almost every brand out there is healthy, good for you. So you can load up, if you're making beans or whatever you're eating, just put a couple spoonfuls of salsa on there. It tastes so much better that way, and it's really healthy for you. Next up, we've got nutritional yeast. Now this stuff gives you a cheese-like flavor, but it's packed with protein, fiber, B vitamins, and potassium, and a lot more actually. It's so good for you. You can sprinkle this on your beans or your veggies, or you can even sprinkle it on popcorn to give you a little bit of a cheesy flavor. You can find these in almost every store now. They're really cheap and they're so good for you. Next up, we're talking about guacamole, one of my personal favorites. It's loaded with delicious flavors and tons of healthy fats. So the best option here is to make your own. But if you don't feel comfortable making your own and you want to go get some at the store, it's just easier for you, that's also fine, but just be careful. Most of the prepackaged ones, A, taste terrible, but B, they have tons of extra sodium and preservatives and sugar and all that kind of crap in them, but they don't even taste good on top of that. So if you can, go to Whole Foods or whatever store you have, a lot of them will actually make their own that morning or the day before. Get one of those. They should be very low ingredient, fresh, healthy, and really delicious. And a little tip for you, if you make your own guac or you buy something like that from the store, after about a day, it's gonna start to turn a little bit. So if you have some left over from a day or maybe 2 days prior, it's gonna start to look a little bit rough. If you squirt some fresh lime juice in there or lemon juice, it'll kind of brighten it up and wake that flavor back up, so that way it'll taste a little bit closer to the way it tastes when it was fresh. Next up is kind of a condiment. We're talking about tomato paste. Now I always keep a lot of this in the house at any given time. I add it to a stew, or if I'm making beans, I always add it. It just adds a lot of flavor, and it's super healthy for you. The ingredient list should just be tomatoes and water. That's it. Super delicious and healthy, and it also happens to be really cheap. The next one is something that I love and I think everyone loves, which is hummus. The only thing you want to watch out for when you buy hummus from the store is going to be looking for a lot of excess oil and a lot of excess sodium. So ideally you can make it yourself, but there are some good brands at the store you can usually find if you kind of look around. You just want to make sure they have as limited of ingredients as possible. So ideally it's just going to say chickpeas, tahini, maybe some garlic and olive oil, and that's it. Maybe some spices and herbs, but nothing else, not a bunch of canola oil or some other kind of crap in there, and not a ton of salt. But definitely look around. The great thing about hummus is you can get so many different flavors. My favorite is like the chipotle one, and my other favorite one, if you have not tried this, there's a great brand that actually makes chocolate hummus that is so good. A little bit less healthy, but so tasty and really not that bad for you. The next one up, I always eat when I roast potatoes or make fries. That's gonna be ketchup. So the thing with ketchup though is you can definitely find some very unhealthy versions that you want to stay away from. So some brands like Annie's Organics, they have some great choices. It's going to be natural cane sugar. It's not going to be high fructose corn syrup. It's not going to be loaded with sodium. So make sure you're smart about it and find one that's just simple ingredients and not loaded with corn syrup and salt. The next one's a little bit tricky, and that's nut butters. So the key with these is use them sparingly. Yes, they're very high in monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, so technically they are good, healthy fats, but they also have terrible omega-3 to 6 ratios. So ideally, you want to stick with the actual nuts. They have a much better omega-3 to 6 ratio, and they're much healthier for you. But having said that, I know nut butters are easier to deal with, and they're so delicious. So whether it's almond butter or peanut butter, nothing wrong with them, but just don't eat too much. Another really easy one to shop for is vinegar. Vinegar is so good for you, and almost every type, whether it's apple cider vinegar or red wine vinegar or whatever type you like, almost all of them are incredibly low in sugar and sodium. So just check the ingredients, check the nutrition facts, and make sure there's nothing weird in there, but otherwise, vinegars are a great choice. Next up is hot sauce. Now brands like Frank's Hot Sauce or Texas Pete, they add a ton of flavor and you don't need much at all. Just be careful because they do have a lot of sodium, so don't go overboard on these. Just use as little as you can kind of get away with, just enough to give you some flavor, some heat, and watch the sodium. Now let's get to the worst condiments. Now some of these are really bad for you, and some of these aren't that bad, but if you eat too much of them, it can definitely add up quickly. The first one though is definitely a bad one, and that's gonna be mayo. So I happen to love Just Mayo. It's my favorite brand. It's so good. I use it maybe once every couple weeks on a sandwich, but I try to use it as sparingly as possible because it is loaded with bad fats. Essentially all it is whipped oils. So stay away from mayo if you can. Definitely not a good choice. The next one's a little bit of a contradiction, and that's ketchup. So I know I said it was good before, but just keep in mind that most brands, almost every brand in the store, is loaded with high fructose corn syrup, tons of sodium, so really watch out for the ketchup. Try to find the good brands that use real sugar and low sodium. Next up is soy sauce. So unless you're looking out for an organic, super low sodium version of this stuff is crazy high in sodium, and it's definitely not good for you. I would avoid this if you can. Next up is also a little bit of a contradiction, and I want to talk about hummus. The reason I had to put this on there is because it is one of the most commonly overeaten condiments, and most people buy really unhealthy brands. So if you take an unhealthy brand with lots of bad oils in it and lots of salt, you're gonna end up eating about half the package like a lot of people do when they sit down and have hummus. So you're gonna end up eating about 20 grams of fat, you're gonna be eating like 500 milligrams of sodium, about 300 something calories, and you're just trying to have a light snack, but it goes by really quickly, and most of them are very bad for you. So find a healthy one and don't eat too much at a time. Next up is barbecue sauce. Try to make your own if you can, but if you're gonna go to the store, almost every single brand is really high in sugar and sodium. So go to the store, look around, see if you can find a healthy one, but trust me, it's not easy. Almost all of them are pretty bad. Last but definitely not least on our worst condiment list is gonna be salad dressings. These are a really common problem area for a lot of my clients because they don't realize how much sugar or how much fat is in some of these salad dressings because the dressings have these really healthy labels on them, so it makes it seem healthy. So if it says fat-free and it's like, let's say a vinaigrette, it's probably really high in sugar. And if it says, no sugar, it probably has fake sugar in it, or it has a ton of fat coming from oils. So just be careful with salad dressings. There are some good ones out there, but a lot of them are just packed with bad stuff. So that's it for our list of healthy and not so healthy condiments. Please let me know down in the comment section what you think, or if you have any condiments that you would recommend that are really healthy. I definitely want to hear from you. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you at the next one.
Shut down.